quite frankly, we wanted a strong like male energy to be one of our starting characters, one male and one female, and we chose Alice for the female, and as a really good counterpart we chose Monkey King, or as he is called, Sun Wukong from Journey to the West. And I think Sun Wukong has been incredibly popular, like literally for hundreds of years. It is one of the few myths and legends that's been repeated from generation to generation. And I think just from the pure amount of lore that Sun Wukong has, we can extract so many good items, so many cool like video gamey things, because he's just like the perfect character for this. And I'm sure that like a lot of people would know that Sun Wukong is, has been a very popular character to be depicted in a lot of like recent media. Like the most famous is obviously like Dragon Ball Z. We had a really huge video game recently that came out, which is Black Myth Wukong. So I think having Wukong in our game also was a huge no-brainer, in a sense of like we liked his energy. There's so much that we can pick from his lore, and to be honest, I really like his characterization as well, because if you ever follow any of the myths or the stories of Sun Wukong's adventures, he is such I'm choosing my words carefully. He is such a trickster. He's a naughty boy. I don't know how to say this in a PG way.
Yeah, definitely. No, I mean, I think you're right. Like, it's obviously there are so many different versions of this character, and I think it's the popularity of it is like evident in the fact that like like a lot of people will be able to recognize this character straight away, which is really, really helpful. But because it is based on like a very, very old story, like it is ancient literature, but by comparison to even sort of makes Alice in Wonderland seem relatively modern. It being such an old story is like there's so many little nuggets of like kind of like the source material of like things to draw from that, like depending on which kind of version of like Monkey King you might have grown up with, you'll definitely be aware of like things like his crown or his staff. Like I think it's less about like, oh, how do we interpret this character? It's like it's much like what do we want to focus on about this character? Like,
yeah, I think like when choosing characters to essentially represent your video game, what is it that you are trying to convey with them, right? And I think it's very difficult to talk about Monkey King without talking about Alice as well, because we see them as a set, right? Like, especially for a PvP game like ours, it is about going up against another formidable like opponent. So we needed to think about them as pairs, and I think Monkey King and Alice was a good pairing because they're just complete opposites of each other in so many different ways, where like Alice is more about like the innocence of childhood curiosities, whereas Sun Wukong is very much similar in like he has a story of like coming of age, of like Sun Wukong kind of learning, but he's also like very chaotic in his story. Like he's learning about things as much as Alice is, but he's also kind of very brash and very like straightforward sometimes. He's very it's like if Alice is nice, he's the naughty. And, if Alice is like the pale blue, Monkey King is the bright red.
Yeah.
And the bigger one is like, we wanted it to have like a global, like a global interest as well, in the sense of like Alice represented more of a Western fiction, whereas Monkey King is extremely like Eastern, very much represents that side of the globe.
I think, obviously when we're thinking in terms of sort of like relationship with a character like Alice, it's like it's much more like Alice is like the SWAT at the front of the classroom, like Monkey King is like the naughty kid at the back a little bit, like, so he's kind of like sort of like it's still like playful, maybe a little bit mischievous, but like obviously like he's not scary.
With Monkey King, we worked with an artist called Agnieszka, based in Poland, and she has an amazing wide range of styles, but what we really wanted was like a really contemporary, modern, anime-esque kind of look. which I think fits Monkey King quite well because I think a lot of like say shonen manga, that kind of look really fits well with the personality of Monkey King, especially that Monkey King gives this like shonen manga main character vibe. And and I think like to set our Monkey King apart from a lot of other Monkey Kings out there, we obviously did our research to seeing like how he's already represented, right? And I think like a lot of video games particularly really want him to look quite like dark and broody and serious, which is a really valid way of showing Monkey King. But I think what we wanted was a bit more playful, a bit more, again, we really like the trickster side of him. So we kind of made him look really cheeky, and I think we also wanted him to look like really attractive. So I think in our mood board we actually put down like K-pop boy band kind of look, didn't we?
Yeah, no, definitely. Yeah, like it was. I guess yeah, like it's similar with like with the character of Alice stuff. Like it with a older kind of almost like mythical human character. Like it's quite fun to try and find a contemporary style point. And I think yeah, like, that's it. I think sort of like when we hit on like maybe like he's more of a K-pop star. So like he's like he's a bit more of a pretty boy than like some of the other Monkey Kings out there. That was quite fun. It was quite a fun meeting.
Especially because Monkey King is, the word monkey is in there. Like, how monkey do we want him to look, right?
Yes.
I think there's a scale of like between anthropomorphic animal to like just a human with like animal ears put on them. Like,
yes,
I think we went for something kind of in the middle where we still wanted to have him look a bit more human-like, but also have enough monkey characteristics. So we kept obviously the famous long tail and some fur. I think there was a lot of discussion about body hair or even just like how much skin do you want to show off. I think it's a very tight rope to be on, in a sense of like how do we make him kind of like sexy but not like too sexy.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, yes, given the sort of nature of the game, it's just sort of like, how to make this character just seem appealing and attractive, and I think that was definitely one of the challenges that the character artists like helping us out with this with Monkey King. Kind of like I think that was often quite a personal kind of voyage of actually figuring out like how animalistic do you want this character to be versus how sort of humanoid. So like I think often a bit of annotation I'd be writing down things, but I was like do we have hands or feet on like the bottom of his leg? Like what length does he have like monkey feet, or does he have human feet? And I think it was interesting to see how kind of what made the most sense, for each design and stuff. It was sometimes a little bit different.
I do quite like what we've ended up with. I think he looks very dynamic. He looks very cheeky. Like he has a lot of personality to him. And especially for a starting character, Monkey King, gameplay wise, it's all about stacking up his attacks. It's quite about full offense. And you kind of, in comparison to Alice, which is a bit more like a feminine energy where a lot of her gameplay is revolving around consumables. I feel like we kind of hit quite a good balance with Monkey King and Alice. I'm quite happy with them. We also have an alternate skin for Monkey King, which is done by our artist called Sergi, based in Spain. And I really like Sergi's take on Monkey King. Sergi's well known for wanting to like push the envelope a little bit. Like he tries to be again against what you would typically think Monkey King look like. He's quite adventurous in that sense, and I think he's gone for a much older, more experienced looking Monkey King. This is like if the default Monkey King skin is like early story Monkey King, Sergi's Monkey King is like late story. Like he's a kind of more of a developed character at this point. He's done his adventures and he's like a formidable warrior.
Yes, definitely. Yeah, he's a lot more grizzled, I'd say. Yeah. No, it's true. I mean, like, I think it sort of really takes to, yeah, like, what is, yeah, like, again, like, the great thing about working with different artists on these characters is that, these interpretations, they're not just sort of like costume designs, like, they are like real, like, reinterpretations of the whole character. So, so when we say skins and stuff, it's almost like kind of like alternative dimension kind of versions of the characters. So that's what's yeah really I think really striking, the sort of like Sergi's Monkey King design. But like versus like Agnieszka's is like it's just like there's just sort of like they are evidently the same character, but like they've definitely seen and done different things and sort of like and like tell different stories, which is I think is like really exciting part of character design, which I think both artists really brought to the project.
Yeah, I like that with Sergei's. He's kind of added like hints of sci-fi to his Monkey King, which is again something just to make it very different from our default skin. And I quite like that with Sergei's Monkey King. He's got like white fur, which I think is quite like I've never really thought about it too deeply, but most monkeys are kind of like more brown, dark fur. But with us, with ours, like he's kind of gone like, what if Monkey King was like completely white, and he's kind of pulled it off quite well. I think he looks really really cool.
Again, one aspect of just having these really quite established characters and stuff is like it is remarkable. Just like when you look through all the different like TV series, films, like games and stuff. Like it's always really remarkable seeing how different you can how many versions of the same character you can create. It's really exciting seeing like Sergi's kind of like take on all.
Nice, cool. Okay, so I think that is it for Monkey King. We are extremely excited for everyone to play them when Turnbound is out. Yeah. Well, by the time that this comes out, it's probably already out. So please enjoy playing both Monkey King and Alice.